My brother texted the family group chat telling me not to bother showing up to our mother's Milestone birthday gala because they were exhausted by my family. My parents reacted with thumbs up emojis, completely forgetting I was the one who paid for the venue, the catering, and my brother's luxury car. So, I logged into my bank, severed every financial tie, canceled the entire event, and let their fake, wealthy facade violently collapse in front of half the city. My name is Julian Vance, and I was 34 years old when I finally nuked my toxic family from orbit. It was a Thursday evening, 2 days before my mother's extravagant 60th birthday gala. The house was filled with the kind of chaotic, beautiful warmth I had desperately craved my entire life. My wife, Maya, was standing at the kitchen counter, chopping fresh basil, the smell of roasting garlic and tomatoes filling the air. Our 2 kids, Leo and Chloe, were sprawling on the living room rug, violently arguing over the rules of a card game. I was leaning against the quartz kitchen island, a half-finished grocery list in my left hand and my phone in my right. I was exhausted, but it was the good kind of exhaustion. I had spent my entire lunch break at my tech firm finalizing the last-minute details for the gala. I had booked the Grand Conservatory at the Willowbrook Estate and Gardens. My mother had explicitly demanded that specific venue 4 months ago. She told me it was the only space elegant enough to invite her wealthy socialite friends without looking like she was trying too hard. I had paid the non-refundable $2,500 deposit. I had spent an extra $800 on premium imported orchids because my brother, Tristan, complained that the standard floral arrangements looked pedestrian. I had ordered a massive, custom-designed, 5-tier cake from the most exclusive bakery in the state. I had even hired a professional string quartet. That was my assigned role in the Vance family. I was the wallet. I was the fixer. I was the walking, talking emergency fund. If something needed to be paid for, arranged, negotiated, or rescued, it somehow found its way to my desk. For years, I let that fool me into thinking I belonged. My phone buzzed against my palm. The screen lit up with a notification from the family group chat. I unlocked it, expecting a last-minute demand. Maybe my dad wanted a specific brand of scotch for his toast. Instead, I saw a text from Tristan. "Don't bother showing up on Saturday. We're exhausted by you and your kids. Just stay home." I stopped breathing. The kitchen noise around me seemed to fade into a dull, ringing hum. I read the words again. I stared at the screen, honestly thinking there had to be a punchline coming. Tristan was arrogant and entirely self-centered, but blatantly uninviting me from a $15,000 event I was actively funding seemed incredibly stupid, even for him. I waited. The typing bubble did not appear. 5 seconds later, a notification popped up under Tristan's message. It was my mother. She had reacted to his text with a thumbs-up emoji. Before I could even process the sting of that betrayal, my father did the exact same thing. Thumbs up. My stomach dropped into my shoes. A cold, heavy weight settled directly over my chest. Just like that, 3 people who shared my blood managed to make me feel like an unwanted stray dog in less than a minute. They didn't even have the decency to call me. They discarded me, my wife, and my children in a group chat with the casual indifference of taking out the trash. My fingers felt stiff as I typed back. "So that's what I am to this family." I hit send. The read receipts popped up almost instantly. They saw it. They saw my pain. No one answered me. Instead, Tristan sent a completely new message, ignoring my existence entirely. Anyway, about the ski lodge for the winter trip. I was thinking we should upgrade to the suite with the private hot tub. My mother replied seconds later. "Oh, that sounds lovely, sweetie, let's book it before it sells out." My father chimed in. "Make sure the lodge has a good Wi-Fi connection. I need to check my emails." They kept chatting right over my message. They were laughing about room assignments and a winter vacation they were already planning, acting as if I had not just been violently shoved out of the room. I looked up from my phone. Maya was pouring pasta into a strainer in the sink, steam billowing up around her beautiful face. Leo laughed loudly at something Chloe said. This was my real family. The people who loved me for who I was, not what my bank account could provide. That was the moment something inside me went completely still. I was not broken. I was not shattered. I was just still. The desperate, anxious boy inside me who had spent 34 years begging for his parents' approval finally died on the kitchen floor. To fully grasp the absolute insanity of what I was about to do, you need to understand the foundation of my family. I grew up in a house where favoritism showed up in 100 quiet, devastating ways. Tristan was the golden child. He was 4 years younger than me, but he lived his entire life like he owned the oxygen in the room. If he won a local sports game, the whole house buzzed for days. If he failed a class or wrecked a neighbor's property, my parents rushed to excuse it. My mother would blame the teachers, my father would say he was just spirited. I was the other kind of child, the one who did not cause scenes, did not ask for much, and learned very early that being easy to overlook was not the same thing as being easy to love. I will never forget Tristan's 16th birthday. My parents surprised him with a brand new sports coupe in the driveway, a giant silver bow on the hood. At that exact same age, I had been riding a rusty second-hand bicycle in the rain to a part-time job at a hardware store. When I asked my parents for help buying a $1,000 used beater car so I could work later shifts, my father looked me dead in the eye and told me that struggling would build character. They weaponized words like times responsibility times and times maturity times whenever I was expected to accept less and smile about it. When I finally graduated college and landed a lucrative career as a lead software engineer, the dynamic shifted from emotional neglect to financial expectation. The minute my salary increased, so did their emergencies. Nobody ever sat me down and demanded sacrifice. They let silence do the work. If a bill needed covering, they were relieved when I handled it. And then there was Tristan. Tristan bounced from one failed entrepreneurial venture to another. When his choices started blowing up in expensive ways, everyone turned to me like I was the emergency exit. I paid his rent when he was facing eviction. I paid his legal fees when he got a DUI. I did it because every time I considered saying no, I could already hear the heavy, suffocating disappointment waiting for me. Maya saw the truth long before I did. The breaking point for her happened the day our daughter Chloe was born. I remember the fluorescent hospital lights, the ache in my feet, Maya looking exhausted and radiant, and the tiny weight of my daughter in my arms. My mother arrived a few hours later. She kissed my cheek, held Chloe for exactly 2 minutes, and then her phone rang. It was Tristan. He was calling about a dispute with his landlord. I watched my mother's face change. She handed my newborn daughter back to me, stepped into the hallway, and her voice became alert, invested, and present. She paced the hallway for 30 minutes, completely consumed by Tristan's drama, then poked her head back in to say she had to leave to help him. I lay there in the hospital chair telling myself not to be dramatic, praising her just for showing up. I had been fully trained by disappointment. I kept paying my mother's platinum credit card when she fell behind. I kept paying for Tristan's leased Range Rover because he claimed he needed it to look the part for investors. I quietly covered the parts of their extravagant lifestyle no one wanted to discuss. And standing in my kitchen looking at that group chat, I finally found out exactly what that bought me. Maya walked over and wiped her hands on a dish towel. She looked at my face and knew immediately something had broken. She didn't ask what was wrong. She just held out her hand. I handed her my phone. I watched her dark eyes scan the screen. I watched her read Tristan's cruel message, the thumbs up emojis, and the subsequent conversation about upgrading their ski cabin. Maya didn't gasp. She didn't tell me to be the bigger person. She set the phone down on the quartz counter, her expression completely hardened. If they do not want us there, Maya said, her voice dripping with absolute ice, they do not get to use your money to make Saturday look perfect. That sentence broke the dam. I did not say a word. I turned around, walked into my home office, and grabbed my laptop. I carried it out to the dining room table, flipped it open, and sat down. Maya stood quietly behind my chair, her hand resting firmly on my shoulder. I opened my email. Sitting right at the top of my inbox was the confirmation from the Willowbrook estate. I stared at the reservation details, the customized gourmet menu, the upgraded champagne package. I felt completely detached, like a surgeon operating on a stranger. I clicked the link to manage my reservation. I navigated to the cancellation page. The screen prompted me with a warning about losing the $2,500 deposit. I didn't care. I clicked Times, Cancel Event. The screen refreshed. The event was gone. $100 deposit. Next, I opened the portal for the catering balance. I had transferred the remaining $4,000 just that morning. It was still pending. I canceled the authorization and removed my credit card information entirely. Then I found the bakery's website. I pulled up the order for the custom 5-tier cake. Cancelled. The string quartet? Cancelled. My breathing steadied. I felt precise. I felt lethal. I logged into my main banking dashboard. This was where the real surgery began. I opened the payment portal for my mother's primary credit card account. I removed my checking account from the automatic payments. I had been covering her overflow for 2 years. Deleted. I opened the account tied to Tristan's monthly Range Rover payment. He swore he only needed help for 3 months. That was 14 months ago. I severed the bank connection. Then I saw the recurring transfer labeled Family Winter Fund. This was the money they were using to plan the ski trip they were currently discussing in the chat without me. I clicked into the account history. Every single dollar in that account had come from me. Tristan hadn't contributed a dime. My parents hadn't put in a cent. I initiated a total withdrawal. I transferred the entire $12,400 balance directly into the 529 college funds I had set up for Leo and Chloe. I watched the balance hit zero. It was done. I closed the laptop. I picked up my phone. The group chat was still active. They were still talking as if I would eventually come crawling back. I set the phone face up on the table, poured myself a glass of bourbon, and waited for the automated emails to reach them. At exactly 9:15 p.m., The first confirmation email from the estate hit my inbox. Because my mother was listed as the secondary contact, I knew she received it too. 2 minutes later, the bakery sent its cancellation notice, then the caterer, then the musicians. I did not send screenshots, the system was doing the talking for me. At exactly 9:18 p.m., the casual banter in the family chat died. It was replaced by absolute chaos. Tristan was the first to break. "What the hell did you do? Fix it." I didn't blink. At 9:20 p.m., my mother's tone shifted instantly to that sickly sweet panic she used when she was cornered. "Sweetheart, do not do this. This is not funny." My father followed, furious. "What happened to the reservation? Why am I getting these emails? Call me right now." I sat there and read every single message without answering. For years, they had treated my financial help like background noise, like air conditioning. Now that it was gone, they were finally hearing the deafening silence it left behind. My phone started vibrating wildly. Incoming call from Mom. Ignored. Incoming call from Tristan. Ignored. Incoming call from Dad. Ignored. I opened Excel. Ignored. Incoming call from Dad. Ignored. I opened Excel. Ignored. 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 I pulled up my banking history spanning the last 4 years. If I was going to burn this bridge, I needed to know exactly how much the toll had cost me. I started entering the numbers. The credit card payments, the rent bailouts, the Range Rover, the club dues, the holiday dinners, the trip contributions. I worked meticulously for an hour. When I finally highlighted the entire column and clicked the sum button, the total was $56,800. I took a clear picture of the spreadsheet total. I didn't send it yet. I wanted the anxiety to marinate. I went to sleep. Update 1. The next morning, I woke up feeling incredibly light. Maya didn't push me to talk. She just handed me a fresh mug of coffee and kissed my cheek. At 10:15 a.m., my father finally texted me directly, refusing to use the group chat. "I need to know what is going on. The venue says the reservation is gone. Your mother is hysterical. Your brother says you are overreacting. Call me." Even now, his first concern was the event. He wanted the son who had just been banished to fix the logistics. I didn't answer. A little before 11 a.m., I got a voicemail from the manager at the Willowbrook estate confirming the gala was fully cancelled and the room had been released. By Saturday afternoon, the day the gala was supposed to happen, the reality of the situation hit them. From what I gathered from frantic texts from my uncle Marcus later, my family had shown up to the estate anyway, assuming I was bluffing. Tristan, trying to play the hero, marched up to the front desk and slapped his metal credit card down to pay for a new room. Declined. He tried it again. Declined. The board, it was tied to the account I had severed. In front of the estate manager, my parents, and a lobby full of wealthy socialites arriving for other events, Tristan realized his accounts were completely empty. His entire facade was funded by the brother he had just told to stay home. At 2:30 p.m., my phone exploded. Tristan left a voicemail, his voice tight and shaking with rage. He called me a selfish sociopath. He said Mom was crying in the parking lot and I needed to stop making everything about me. I listened to the whole thing, deleted it, and opened the group chat. I attached the photo of the spreadsheet showing the $56,800 total. Under it, I wrote, "This is what I have spent covering this family over the last 4 years. You never had to ask, you just assumed I would pay." My mother answered immediately. "Family helps family." Tristan chimed in, typing furiously. "You're manipulative. You're trying to make everyone look bad over nothing." My father demanded I call him privately. I typed back, "It happened in the group when I was told not to come, so it stays in the group now." Tristan snapped again, saying none of this would be happening if I had just let one rude text go. That was the opening I needed. I dropped the screenshot of his original message. "Don't bother showing up. We're exhausted by you." And the screenshots of my parents' thumbs up reactions right beneath it. I typed my final message, "One rude text does not erase a family. It exposes one. I am cutting you off. I am done paying to be despised. Do not contact me again." I blocked Tristan. I blocked Mom. I blocked Dad. The silence that followed felt like pure, unadulterated peace. The heavy backpack I had been carrying for over a decade just vanished. Of course, a parasitic system doesn't just quietly accept the resignation of its primary host. For the next 3 days, they sent flying monkeys. Uncle Marcus cornered me at the grocery store. He didn't ask how I was doing. He crossed his arms and looked at me like a rebellious teenager. "You made your point, Julian," Marcus said loudly, "but holding a grudge over a text? You're tearing the family apart over money. Your dad was planning a big toast at the gala. He was going to announce that he was helping Tristan secure the capital for his new tech startup. They wanted it to be a big celebration. I stopped dead. Helping him how? Well, he already signed a preliminary guarantee for a $150,000 business loan to get him started. Marcus sighed. I almost laughed out loud in the produce aisle. The sheer, unmitigated audacity was staggering. They were going to use a private room that I paid for, at an event that I organized, to publicly hand over money to the brother who had just banned me from attending. Worse, my father had co-signed a massive loan, fully expecting that when Tristan inevitably defaulted, I times would be the one bailing them out to save my parents' house. I looked Marcus dead in the eye. Marcus, if you are so passionate about keeping the family intact, I will gladly forward you the loan details for Tristan's Range Rover. You can take over the payments. Let me know where to send the paperwork. He stood there with his mouth open. I walked to my car, got in, and drove away. I was no longer the designated victim. Update 2. It has been roughly 6 months since the day of my mother's ruined 60th birthday gala. 6 months since I pressed a few buttons on my laptop, severed the financial umbilical cord, and watched the grand illusion of my family completely disintegrate. People often expect cutting off toxic family to be filled with dramatic shouting matches. But the reality is much quieter. The first real shift I noticed was physical. My jaw stopped clenching every time my phone buzzed. Then, the first of the month arrived. Usually, I would spend my lunch break partitioning my salary out like a man desperately trying to plug holes in a sinking ship. But this time, I opened my banking app, and the money just sat there. It was entirely mine. Watching my kids' college funds grow by thousands of dollars in a single afternoon was the most intoxicating, validating feeling in the world. Without my monthly bailouts, my family's financial house of cards collapsed entirely, and it collapsed fast. The tech startup Tristan was bragging about never materialized. Without my bank account covering the automatic withdrawals, his Range Rover was repossessed in the middle of the night. 2 weeks later, he was facing eviction from his luxury loft. Then came the final defining moment of this entire ordeal, the moment that permanently killed any lingering hope I had for reconciliation. I was sitting in my home office when an email notification popped up. It was an unrecognized address, but the subject line read, "Apology from Tristan." Against my better judgment, I opened it. The email was long, surprisingly articulate, and hit all the right emotional notes. Tristan wrote about how the stress of his failing business made him lash out. He wrote about how much he valued our brotherhood and how he realized he had been taking me for granted. He even threw in a line about how much he missed Leo and Chloe, saying he wanted to be the fun uncle again. For a brief, fleeting second, the old version of me felt a tiny spark of warmth. Maybe hitting rock bottom was exactly what he needed. Then I scrolled down. Tristan is many things, but he is not detail-oriented. In his rush to send the email from a burner account to bypass my block, he had forwarded a message from his phone, and he forgot to delete the email history at the very bottom of the thread. He had left the original text buried beneath his signature line. I narrowed my eyes and read the hidden text. It was an email from my father to Tristan, sent just 3 hours prior. The words on the screen burned themselves into my memory. Tristan, just copy and paste this text and send it to your brother from a new address so it bypasses his block. Do not change a single word. Sound humble and mention the kids. He always goes soft for the kids. The state auditors are looking into your mother's charity foundation. We are completely out of liquid cash, and the defense lawyers are demanding a $30,000 retainer by Friday or she is going to face federal fraud charges. We need Julian to calm down, drop his ridiculous boundaries, and open his checkbook again or she is going to prison. Send this apology right now and play nice until we get his credit card back on file. We can deal with his stuck-up wife later. I read that paragraph 3 times. The air in my office felt suddenly ice cold. My vision actually blurred for a second. There was no sudden realization of brotherhood. There was no remorse. It was a script, a calculated, cold-blooded, venomous script written by my own father to manipulate me into paying for criminal defense lawyers because my mother had apparently been embezzling from a fake charity, and they had been using my money to cover their tracks. They were literally treating me like a mark in a long con. They were willing to use the names of my children as bait to get to my bank account. They were willing to insult Maya behind my back while plotting to steal our family's security to keep my mother out of federal prison. I did not feel angry. Anger implies passion, and passion implies you still care. I felt a profound, overwhelming sense of absolute emptiness regarding them. It was the kind of final, undeniable grief you feel at a funeral when the casket finally closes. In that moment, I permanently accepted the terrifying reality of the parents I actually had. I didn't write a long emotional response. I hit reply, deleted Tristan's fake, rehearsed apology, and left only my father's instructions in the body of the email. I added one single sentence at the top. I read the bottom, have fun in court. I hit send. I permanently blocked that email address. I set up a strict filter on my server to send any future emails from any of them directly to a hidden trash folder. The door was not just closed, it was locked, deadbolted, and buried under a mountain of concrete. In the months that followed, Maya and I made a deliberate choice to reclaim our peace. Last weekend, instead of driving across town to fix my dad's plumbing or paying for an overpriced brunch, we went to a local farm to pick out a Christmas tree. I watched my wife expertly negotiate a compromise between Leo wanting a 10-foot spruce and Chloe wanting a pathetic Charlie Brown tree. We settled on a beautiful Douglas fir. I pulled my wallet out to pay the farmer. It was a simple transaction, $100 for a tree, but as I handed him the cash, I realized something profound. I loved spending this money. I loved providing for the people standing in front of me because this exchange was built on a rock-solid foundation of mutual respect and genuine affection. I wasn't buying their tolerance. I was funding our shared joy. My parents and my brother did not love me. They loved my function. The minute I removed the function, I ceased to have any value to them as a human being. If you are the workhorse child in a toxic family, hear me now, you cannot love someone into respecting you. You cannot buy their genuine affection. Falsely believing that sheer competence and generosity will eventually earn you their love is a trap. It will only earn you more work. You are entirely allowed to stop paying the invoice for a relationship you aren't even actively participating in. Stand firm. Your mental peace and the well-being of the family you created are worth infinitely more than the conditional approval of the family you came from. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out and allows us to bring you even more awesome stories. Thank you so much for watching.